If somebody were to ask you, who you are, it's an interesting question. I'm curious what your answer is to it. What would you tell them?
Nobody's ever asked it quite like that. I'm a human being.
There we go. I love it.
If you're asking me how to identify my career or what I
Um,
do,
that's the second part of the question, but how would so that's your answer is you're a human being. And what else do you have to add to that?
and my vision has never changed. And with my birthday this past January, began my 60th year of teaching.
Wow.
And the vision for all of these decades has been to change the world through voice.
Mm,
Voice is power. You
mm.
are in a generation, in my old arrogant way, I describe as the fingers and thumbs generation. You spend more time looking at your keypad than looking at eyeballs. And in your generation, one has lost the sense of public contact. We don't
Mm.
touch like this.
Right. No
And
kidding. Mm.
our youngest son has been trying to convince me for years that texting is communicating, but texting is texting. It's information based and you control the conversation. There's no in the moment communication. And
Right. Yeah. It creates this kind of planned artificial layer to it where there's no immediate feedback. There's time to plan. And then you don't have, especially in your field, the tonality that you can and the energy that you can invigorate something with. And so
yes,
it's interesting to hear your viewpoint on that.
and also you are clearly brilliant at what you do. I barely have a glimpse of what it is, but just in our brief interaction about it before we got on this call, you're a genius at what you're creating in AI. And you're speaking to this dinosaur who doesn't know diddly squat about any of what you're talking about. And your mouth is your mind out loud. You
Yes.
talk, and whatever comes out, comes out. But within that, as part of the human condition, if I say to you, it's really nice spending time with you right now, Kyle, thanks a lot, versus, it's really nice spending time with you, Kyle, thanks a lot.
Mm,
Now,
mm.
the first one was bogus, but we don't know why. Didn't occur to you, hey, it's nice to meet you.
Question mark.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. We don't think he spoke too high or his pitch was too high or he spoke too fast. All we get subliminally is, I don't trust that. It's disingenuous.
Mm.
The second one you don't think about, his pitch went lower. He slowed down, he breathed. None of that occurs to us. All we get is more authenticity.
And I noticed
And
that speaking with you, even when we spoke the first time a couple weeks ago, you were very authentic to say the least, in a way that's rare to find in a lot of
may I interrupt because you said I could play?
please play
You'll
around. Let's do
notice me
it.
slow down just a little, which is interesting, but don't take your eyes off me, even when you're gathering a thought.
Don't tell me where to put my eyes because
I'm
that's
sorry.
controlling where I think. I have
No,
to look to capture a thought.
no. That's just what you think. That's a behavior. But one of the things I teach in vocal awareness is we are not our behaviors. That may be how we behave, but is that who we are?
Well, that goes back to the first question of you being a human
No,
being.
no, 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 no.
Hey, it's difficult for me because I think very
That may
visually.
be, and I'm sorry for interrupting, and I don't have to do this if you don't want me to, but I want to show you that you can actually do it and it won't throw you off track.
It's difficult. I think
You're
very
saying
visually, so I
that.
have to look at the images to capture them to be able to present what I'm thinking.
You didn't just then.
Well, I'm looking at them with my peripheral vision as I'm talking with you now. So that's it. I've
You're
never
looking right at me.
interesting. You can use your peripheral vision, but it's not perfect because I still find myself looking to the right to look at the image that's popping up.
Really interesting. Nobody's ever said it to me quite this way. Speech is habit. Nobody thinks about communication as I do. I teach communication mastery. And in all disciplines, from the arts to athletics, Mastery is only achieved when one integrates mind, body, spirit. And communication is no different. I teach empowerment through voice. And when I when I trying to when I'm doing what I just did and giving my power away and giving me away. And
Mm,
notice what's just happened in your space from 3,000, 3,500 miles away via the internet as I've just changed my communication pattern. You're
mm.
quieter inside. You're feeling a little safer. Your space
Relax.
is quieter just because of what I'm doing here.
Fascinating. Mm.
And
So do
so
you go
let me
ahead,
just go back to the eye contact thing. I don't
please?
care where we gather a thought, Kyle,
Okay.
but I don't want us speaking up there or down here. I
Mm.
only want us speaking once we've captured the thought and maintained eye contact. I want you to do something for me, if you would.
Well, we'll see what
The
it is.
statement, the statement is, I am an extraordinary person and I do extraordinary things. That's what I'd like you to say. But I'd like you to look to the side as you say it.
Okay, I just did it in my head in a split second. I can see the difference in authenticity in the way that it's perceived just by the way that, because like I said, I think very visually, the whole movie of me doing that just flashed in an instant. And I
So
can, the comparison between the two of them. And so I
that's
did it with looking
here.
to the side and looking
Yes.
directly at you, and you can see the immediate difference.
But now could you do it so you can hear it auditorially? Look over there. I'm an extraordinary man and I do extraordinary things. Because I want you to hear the other reason behind the eye contact.
Okay, all right. So I am an extraordinary man and I do extraordinary things.
Now
And
look at me and say the
here I
same
am.
thing again.
I'm an extraordinary man and I do amazing, extraordinary things.
Do you hear the
Hmm.
pitch change when you looked at me?
I was being careful with the pitch with the first one. And
I
so,
knew you were
because I
cheating.
knew that that was where you're going with it. I had a feeling.
I knew you
Wow,
were cheating. I
we got a little
and
reward there.
I have to really step up my game here. You take no prisoners. This is so cool. And but the point in part is that when we make eye contact, it literally changes the sound of a voice.
Mm.
But it's also scary. And sociologists for 70 years have told us the greatest fear in society is public speaking. That's totally bogus. The greatest fear in society are actually two fears: fear of abandonment and
Mm.
ownership of my power.
Mm.
When I look away, I don't know why that just happened, but it happens.
You're telling me not to look away as there's all kinds of balloons flying on the screen.
And, and so this is very intimate. The root of the word intimate, the Latin root word intimus, means intrinsic or essential.
Mm.
It's intrinsic to be who we are, Kyle, and essential that we must be who we are. But throughout our lives, we get all these mixed messages. Oh, you shouldn't act like that. What will people think? Oh, don't say that. You sound arrogant.
Don't look away. You're not sounding sincere. This is up that same
So,
track.
so if I say to you, Kyle, vocal awareness is extraordinary work. It can help you change your life in moments. Now that's stupid and arrogant. But if I say in response, Kyle, vocal awareness is extraordinary work. It can help you change your life in moments. That's not arrogant,
Mm,
it's my truth.
mm, mm.
So helping people feel safe enough to embody that without worrying about what you think of me while I'm being me.
How do you know what tone to use when you're speaking? Do you think about it consciously? What's your thought
Oh,
process
no, that would be
between the two?
disingenuous. That would be contrived.
Was it originally conscious to be able to do it unconsciously now?
No. I'm a classical singer by training. I have a master's in voice.
Interesting.
And
Mm,
so I really do know voice and all what it represents on myriad levels. But if I say to you, if you, that's a real question. If I ask you just to do this with your lips gently together, we're going to hum nasally. I'm going to show you. And then where that pitch ends up, begin speaking, please. I'm going to breathe. Hmm.
I'm supposed to mirror your tone? Okay.
Or no, whatever is for you. Whatever it is for you. Don't mirror me. Most
Okay.
people don't have your ability. You know this. And so I just want you listening to you.
Okay.
And then where you end up speaking, where the pitch ends up saying once again, I am an extraordinary man and I do extraordinary things. I'm gonna hum. Mm,
Mm.
in the sentence with the breath.
I am an extraordinary man and I do extraordinary things.
So that's one way to find your optimal pitch level in a given moment.
What did we just do?
You hummed in a somewhat nasal way. Nasality in our work, when we vocalize, is critically important because it enhances resonance. Resonance is an intensified vibration in the voice, male or female, whatever, it doesn't matter. We all have resonance in our voices.
That comes from the
And
nasal? I was under the impression that would come from the diaphragm, speaking shoulders down deep, and that's where the resonance, the power would come from.
that's totally not true. Where is our larynx? Do you know where our voice box is? Is it in our diaphragm?
Oh, I presume
Yeah,
it's
of
right about
course, it's
here.
right there inside your thyroid cartilage. Of course. This is the power source. This
Right.
is what creates the power of our voices. But this instrument of ours, we're both a wind instrument and a string instrument.
Mm.
Because the only thing that makes it work is air, like blowing on a flute. And the only way that makes it work is vibration, like a violin bow crossing over a string. Our chords are not solid vocal cords or vocal bands. They're literally thousands of striated muscle fibers. And the only thing that makes them work is air. And they're the only muscle in the body that's not tied off from point to point in the same way. It's fixed in the rear and expands in the front to create different pitches and sounds. It's also the only muscle in the body that works only with air. Every other muscle works as muscle pulls against muscle, except the larynx. So, and it's so intimate. We're sitting in church or synagogue or the mosque or something when we're a toddler, an infant. And one of the ways we explore our universe at that age, Kyle, is through our voices. We go gaga and goo goo. That's part of the human condition.
The way we
And
explore the universe
through our
through
voice, we're
vocal. Wow.
discovering us. We're
Mm.
discovering this. And we're being held by a loved one who gently pats us on our back and says, shh.
Mm.
And acculturation, socialization begins. We're
Interesting.
told to quiet ourselves before we even open up.
Mm.
If I ask you, put one hand in the middle of your chest, please, Kyle. And the other hand, put your third and fourth finger on your Adam's apple. And your index finger right here against the base of your tongue. Right there. Where your index finger is, the base of your tongue is the strongest muscle in your body per diameter. Take a nice deep top of the morning breath. And exhale. And you feel this flex a little bit.
Yeah.
And you felt your chest rise.
Yeah. First, which ideally it would be the diaphragm for me, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. But for me, right, what happened there was the chest expanded first,
No,
and
the
then the
chest
voice.
rose first. It didn't expand. I'm going to show you the difference in a moment.
Okay.
Do the top of the morning, nice deep breath. Take a nice deep breath. Feel that rising
Yeah.
and this constriction here.
Yeah.
You
The
don't know that
shoulders
as
down.
constriction, but it is, yes. Now keep this hand here. Take the other one and put it under your armpit and wait for me. This time I don't want you to take a deep breath, Kyle. I want you to keep your eyes on me, and I'm going to guide this 5-second inhale. It's called a conscious, loving breath. We're not going to take breath, we're going to allow it lovingly. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Just allow it lovingly. No, don't rush. Slowly, deeper, deeper, inhaling deeper, deeper. And you felt this relax, not constrict. You felt your intercostals expand, not your chest rise.
You're right.
Let's do it again. Lovingly, eyes only on me. No, you're rushing again.
Story of my life.
Just allow lovingly.
Hmm.
No, no, you're taking. You're rushing. Don't
Hmm.
do anything. Just allow it lovingly. Just hear my language and stay with my face. Deeper, deeper. Excellent, Kyle. And you're internally quieter and your space is quieter. You can rest your hands.
Very much. Mhm.
Now, what's so interesting is the breath of a newborn is called an intercostal diaphragmatic breath. We need oxygen fast, and our whole this area expands like a bellows. So I change the word. Watch what happens when I say take a breath. Do you feel that impulse is up?
Yeah.
Now, just allow a breath.
Hmm.
Feel how something subtly relaxes and moves this way a little bit?
The whole body does. And the
Just
expansion.
love a breath.
Mhm.
So I change the word from take to allow, take to love.
Hmm.
And I return you to your primal breath. But volitionally. When we first breathe like this, it's how we breathe. It's organic. But life intervenes very quickly. And I circumvent all this natural order of things.
Hmm.
So
Very
I take,
profound. It's beyond
yes,
breath. What you're talking about is extremely profound.
yes. So now if I ask you to please sit up straight, sit at attention, please, Kyle.
I don't respond well to orders.
I
This is
know,
why I'm an
clearly, and neither
entrepreneur.
do I. But just do it for the exercise so you can experience it.
Okay, let's do it. Ah,
I don't really mean it, but I want you to experience something.
okay.
And notice how you hold your breath.
I did. You're right.
That's right. Now, I
Hmm.
never want you doing that. Instead, I'm going to ask you to embody a man of stature, feeling extraordinary about yourself. And what we're going to do to achieve that is watch me do it. I'm going to take this golden thread from 3 inches below my navel. I'm going to slowly pull this golden thread taller and taller and taller,
Hmm.
taller, taller, taller. Loosening delts, traps, neck, shoulder, neck. I'm only pulling from the lats, taller. And when I'm in this place, I also say thank you to Source, thank you to God, within myself. However we want to identify. We can even be an agnostic and still thank you. Now let's do that together, please. I'm going to stop you right after you begin. Claim yourself as a man of stature with your hand doing what I'm doing, please, Kyle. And what have you already done, Kyle?
I moved my shoulders back,
No, no,
but
no,
also,
before any of that. What was the very first thing you did?
well, I moved my hand up and started breathing.
No, you inhale. That's right. The
Hmm.
first impulse was to inhale.
Hmm.
When I had
My
you sit
space
at
is my belly.
attention, the first impulse was to hold your breath. When I ask you to claim your greatness, claim the power of the man you are. Let's continue. The body's first impulse is to inhale. Taller, 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 straight up through the middle of your crown chakra, arm next to your ear, fully extended, neck and shoulders loose, feeling your greatness, Kyle. Arm down, and now keep feeling this golden thread pulling. And you
Mm,
feel how the core is more engaged, how chest is more open,
mm.
and how once again your internal external space are quiet. Now, may I have you stand and sit 2 times in the space you're in?
Okay.
Now, just sit down and relax, Kyle. Forget all this stature schmatcher stuff and just kick back and let me know when you're relaxed.
Okay. There we go.
Stand in place one last time, please. Turn off your left brain and don't try to figure this out. You don't need empirical understanding. Just hear the words, Kyle, love and let go. Simply feel what it might be like to love and let go. And when you choose to, sit down.
Wow. Mm.
See how much more centered you are? How
Yeah.
much more grounded you are? And you don't love and let go from a blintz, but your body does. Your mind, body, spirit does.
Mm.
The root of the word spirit, spiritus, simply means in Latin to breathe. I don't want to
Okay.
motivate. I
Yeah.
don't want you to motivate. We want to inspire people. Inspirare. We want to breathe into them.
Mm.
The Hebrew word neshama means both soul and breath. So it is all about mind, body, spirit in a breath, in our conscious awareness of how we sit and stand and look at one another. Sharing who we are, just being who we are. I've had the privilege over all these decades to work with very, 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 very famous people in all walks of life, from stage to screen to music. My 30th football student in the NFL is being inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame this August.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and I want to let you know that I've got a free book that you can get if you want to tap into more of these resources. And you can get that for free at kylesbook.com. Back to the podcast.
And I've learned what it takes to be in mastery.
Mm.
Everybody, before they walk out on that stage, has a prayer of some sort, some ritual. Every athlete in baseball, you watch them climb in and out of the box, and every time they're doing something. It's a ritual, has a spiritual component. It all has a spiritual component. But we don't use that in life. So in vocal awareness, Kyle, I want us to be totally hubristic. The root of the word hubris simply means blaspheming the gods or extreme arrogance. That's the root of that word.
Mm.
Why would I want to be extremely arrogant? But every great artist, every great athlete that I know, in their skill set, in their art, is completely hubristic. That athlete doesn't hope his teammates approve or her teammates approve. It's not even on their radar. They're totally self-focused. And when they are there for themselves, they are there for the team. They're there for their craft. Of course, standing on that stage in the bow of a piano, a classical artist wants to be loved and stroked. Who doesn't? But the moment my ego mind crosses the footlights, I'm not serving my art. So it takes this whole hubristic presence to serve the work.
How does that relate with God as a concept? Do you see, because you referred to it as God internally, that the inner God. And so if you're thinking about it hubristic in this sense, then are you thinking about it as stepping into God as you perform your craft? How do you think about that?
Nobody said it to me quite that way ever. And we can call it God, we can call it source, we can call it whatever we want. I don't see separation. I see synergy. Whenever I write the term mind, body, spirit, I never write mind, comma, body, comma, and spirit.
Yes, I
I
noticed
write
that.
it as with slash lines, mind, body, spirit, because that's my humble way of understanding that this is the Trinity. One doesn't happen without the other. It's three in one. We process linearly, but I suspect you don't process that linearly, but most people do. I try not to, but this part, again, part of our feebleness on this plane. It's a lot of complex stuff going on. And so my goal is to be at one with what I refer to, and I have 7 rituals in vocal awareness. Stature is preparation for everything. The first ritual is to say thank you. The second, to love and let go. The third is to allow a conscious loving breath. Then we get into making sound. As a warm-up, for example. When I speak, I need to be aware. Listen to how alive my voice becomes. The nasality that I warm up with intensifies the resonance. And the mouth is where the words come from, but the eyes tell the story. You are an extraordinary young man, Kyle. I'm really enjoying this. Or, you are an extraordinary young man, Kyle. I am enjoying this. Changes everything. That's the fourth ritual. The fifth ritual is to take my time. In communication, it's never how fast I speak, only how effective. Nothing is gained by going too fast, but potentially everything could be lost. Understanding, integrity, all kinds of things. The sixth ritual, which is where I strive to always be, it goes back to what you're just asking me. The sixth ritual is pay attention, deeper listening. When I've written 5 books and lots of articles and ... And whenever I speak about voice, I'll sometimes spell it with a lowercase v, other times with a capital V. The lowercase v is my speaking voice. The capital V is what I refer to as the deeper self, capital S self.
Yes. Wow.
This inner conversation between source and self that only we are privy to. Do you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil?
Oh, my journal's in the other room, so I don't.
Do you have can you type on your computer?
I can.
Okay, write the 7th ritual, which is be myself, please.
Okay.
You wrote 2 words, be myself.
Yep.
Now write it as actually intended. It's 3 words, be myself, and the third word begins with a capital S. That's this work. It doesn't say present. It says claim. We don't need anybody's approval. There are whole schools of teaching that says you have to present to your audience. You have to bond with your audience. What a bunch of balderdash. Now, what if I try to please this person? What if somebody else doesn't know the POV? I can't serve you both. That great artist, that great athlete isn't trying to do that. So I'm giving my power away.
Right.
Voice is power. One of my axioms is when I own my voice, I own my power.
It's difficult because some of us were conditioned to seek and need external
We're
approval growing
all
up.
conditioned like that, Kyle. Every single human being I've met on the planet, maybe except 5. The first one that came to mind was Arnold Schwarzenegger, whom I taught for 8 or 9 years. He didn't have that chip. But most of us do. And so I said earlier, we are not our behavior. That's a behavior. But that's not who we are. But that is how we behave. So this work, to use that trite phrase, is a paradigm shift. We actually have a new way to claim who we are through vocal awareness.
Mm. The way that I look at that is, even I still struggle with this. I've got a belief that I need external approval to be able to feel okay about myself because of the instability that I experienced growing up. And so there was a lot of unpredictability. And so when it came to saying something one day, it was fine. The same thing the next day, it was not fine. And so I had to really be aware of external reactions to me. And so it's difficult to change that belief, which is
If you
part of
watch
my
this
identity,
podcast back, you probably said the word difficult about 183 times today.
which is a belief that it is difficult. But the beliefs
In,
are forming the identity.
yes, in vocal awareness, I always add a conjunction. It's difficult, but,
Mm. Mm.
because when all you say is difficult, that steel door is just slammed shut and we threw the key away. But
Mm.
when we add the conjunction but, it creates options and new opportunities. None of us got anywhere in life unscathed. This journey is not for the faint of heart. But you're creating profound work. And 2 in the morning, in the middle of the night, when these ideas come to you and you pop out of bed to figure something out, to test it, you're not seeking approval. You're in
Mm.
your deeper listening. And you know this idea is correct. You just have to figure out how to make it work. Am I correct, by the way?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Now tell me absolutely and see a period after the word.
absolutely.
No,
Mm.
see the period.
See the period. Okay.
See the full stop.
Okay. Can I see the whole word? I mean, I just saw,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
picturing,
No,
I'm
say the
picturing each
whole
letter
word,
and
but
then
no, say the whole word, but see the black dot at the end.
does it have to be black? Because I've seen it as red. I've seen the different colors for each letter and then different shades within the colors within
Oh,
the letter.
whatever you want. I just want you to see the dot at the end.
All right. Absolutely. Mm.
You didn't see the dot. Write the word,
Yeah,
please.
because I'm trying to look at the dot when because it
Okay,
was on
write the
to the
word,
right
please.
because it's
Would you write
centered
the
in my mind, but the
would
dot is to
you
the
would you write the word, please? Type the word
Okay.
and put an exclamation point at the end
Okay. Mm.
and read that word.
Absolutely. Mm.
Now underline the L-U-T-E. Tell me when you've done that, please.
The O-U-T-E?
No, the L-U-T-E. Underline those
Oh,
four
okay,
letters.
okay. I see. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Now read it.
Absolutely. Mm.
Yes. Watch
Mm.
me. Absolutely.
Mm.
Your turn.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Mm.
Better. Now that word has meaning.
Mm.
Before it was
Okay.
just a word.
Mm.
And what I'm touching on, and this is especially interesting for you, Kyle, because of your whole AI journey. Sound has expressed emotion. There's a trademarked piece of vocal awareness called visceral language, conveying the emotion of words. Because you're such a sensitive young man with compelling, cutting edge ideas, with certain audiences, i.e., if you're ever out there raising venture capital money or things like that, you need to own the size of this performance.
Mm.
We don't want to feel like Oliver Twist and say, "More gruel, sir?" Feeling like your hat in hand, or just some other smart young 20 something with another cool idea. We want you to communicate in such a compelling, earnest, integral way that you cannot be denied. Notice I didn't just say in such an earnest, compelling, integral way you cannot be denied. I didn't say that. I said in such an earnest, compelling, integral way you cannot be denied. Do you feel that difference? I didn't ask, did you hear it? Do you feel that difference?
Absolutely. What you're doing is you're transferring the emotion that you're feeling onto me. The same
Yes,
thing
not
others
onto you,
feel.
into you. There's a difference. Because this is vibration. It's energy. We're all just fancy pixels, you know that. And voice is vibration, it's energy. And I want us to organize this energy and use it for good.
How do
The
you organize
obscenity
the
of this
energy?
criminal in our country running for president, I never say his name. He's a megalomaniac and probably a psychopath and a sociopath. I'm not a psychiatrist, I can't speak to that. But I know he studied Mein Kampf. I know he studied Hitler videos.
Make America great again. Where'd that come from? Make Germany great again. Yeah.
Because he shouts in that same timbre, in that same vocal color and energy,
Mm.
which usurps people energetically to the dark side. And there are millions of people in this country and elsewhere who think the world is flat. And it's the I used to say before, when he first ran, and people thought I was saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling, 8 years, 9 years ago, that this was the scariest time in the world since 1932. Hitler didn't become chancellor till 33. But I say now it is the scariest time in the world in mankind's history because it's instantaneous. It's all over the world in a nanosecond. Whether it's him or the criminal in Israel or the criminal in Russia or the criminal in Hungary, wherever it is, usurping the power of mankind for evil.
How? Through the tonality, the resonance, the
Yes,
darkness that he's projecting through his voice into
yes,
others, not onto others.
exactly.
Hmm. If you had to put it in a
And
few
it's
words,
a,
how
it's a,
would you
it's
describe what he's doing?
it's an apartheid conversation because you also have to have a receptive audience of sycophants, i.e., the enablers
Hmm.
that allow this to take place
And reward him.
and reward him. In Russia with Putin, it's rewarded because if you don't, you will be put in a gulag or shot or poisoned or something. Here, you lose the election. In Israel, it makes me particularly sad as a Jew because what Netanyahu is doing is not how Jews are supposed to behave. And yet, he's only a politician. He may be Jewish, but he's only a politician. And he wants to keep that obscene coalition together so he can win election again. And so it's just terrible. It's just so to just to finish this point. When I speak about voice is power, I want to alert people to this, but I also want us to arm ourselves so that we cannot be harmed through thanking Source, through these ways that bring about our own sovereignty. And it takes courage to do that. The root of the word is heart. So when you speak about the difficulty is irrelevant. The passion is what's relevant. The desire, the belief system.
Well, wouldn't you say that Hitler had all of these beliefs, the belief system, the power, the resonance embodied into his speaking? And
Absolutely.
and so how would you describe from your point of view how Hitler is able to or was able to captivate an audience, and same as Trump now. How would you that you say it's the dark side they're tapping into? What do you mean by that?
This is vibrational, first of all. They don't
Mm,
know any of this,
mm,
but people are looking for something. They're looking for, quote unquote, a savior. In Hitler's time, they just come out of World War I, and Germany was saddled with enormous debt. And so there were complaints. Society was in dire straits. The world was also in a economic free fall with the depression. So it was causational. There were things happening socially that he could step in to fill the void and then blame others. And who do we blame but the Jewish cabal, quote unquote? And so you have a
It's-
scapegoat. You had a scapegoat there. Here
I'm
we
not
have a
talking
scapegoat here.
politically because I understand, right? There's the specifics. I get it, but what I'm talking
And
about is vocally, how was he able to invoke the dark side in his listeners, which is that excitement, that energy that he was able to
I'm
bring through?
coming back to answering that because
Okay.
it also takes the receptive audience. Today, to his audience, the scapegoat is the election was stolen. The Democrats are communists. We're less safe now than we were then. We just check whatever box.
Hmm.
So he speaks to this constituency he doesn't talk. You never hear him just speak. You
Hmm.
only hear him shout. And you only hear him shout the same thing day in and day out. And right now there's the danger that he can become a martyr because he breaks all the rules. He's this new gag order because he threatens people. But he does it energetically, vibrationally by screaming at us and playing the victim card and speaking
Hmm.
lies about how good we had it under my administration. I don't mind people being Republicans, and anybody can be whatever they want. But to be Republican today is very dangerous. Because to be Republican now means you only support the criminal.
Maybe, but I'm curious how you would coach somebody to be able to tap into that energy of the audience without necessarily using it in the ways that these individuals
I do
are.
that all, that's my work.
I know, so that's what I mean. How would you, in a
Oh, that's
step-by-step
easy,
process, be able
Kyle.
to help
That's
somebody
easy.
speak like that for the benefit, hopefully benevolently?
One of my paradigms is that power develops out of freedom, freedom out of letting go out of knowledge.
Mm.
The more information we have, the freer we are allowed to become to release our power, to be the integrity of who we're capable of being. So we create what I call in vocal awareness a persona statement. And we answer two questions. One, how do I believe I'm presently perceived? The root of the word persona is an Etruscan root word, ancient Greek dialect. That root word means through the sound. One's identity is largely conveyed through the sound of a voice, and as you know far better than I, an opinion created instantaneously.
Mm.
Perception is reality. It doesn't matter what's true, only what we perceive it to be. Then we answer the second question. How would I ideally like to be known? Which raises a really interesting thought, Kyle. We actually have a choice. We didn't
Mm.
know we had a choice. And then I extrapolate that by saying every single thing in life, Kyle, revolves only around two things: to choose to do something or to choose not to. It never matters how scary, how quote unquote difficult it is. All that matters is how badly I want it. Even in abdication, I make a choice by walking away. These brilliant concepts that you are creating, these brilliant things that you are building, astonishing. You could probably explain it to me 40 different ways and I still wouldn't understand. But to you, it's like, look, Jane, look, spot is a dog. Run, run, run. Just like this is for me.
Mm.
And then we, through our exercises, on my website, there are a couple of things I'd love you to take a look at. One is my TEDx talk. It's 18 minutes of your time. Another, an elite basketball player who was inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame this past summer in Massachusetts, a dear friend and student. His name is Dwayne Wade. His Hall of Fame speech is there, but take a look at his retirement speech.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, what did you think?
Powerful. I mean, you can tell that he's been coached verbally because you can feel the emotion and feel the emotion of the audience members watching, which
But
is
was it contrived or was it real?
there's a realness to it. Absolutely. It's hard to describe and it's even
Yes.
harder to tap into.
And yet, if you'd known Dwayne 5 months earlier before we met, he would have simply sounded like another elite basketball player with poor grammar and syntax, a heavy, thick voice. And the promise is always not making someone to somebody they're not, but helping bring out what was possible. We didn't even have a dress rehearsal on the floor. We'd warmed up in the green room and the bathroom mirror going, and beginning his talk and doing the things that I teach. But when he walked out, he was reading it cold. And this was the first time he ever read prepared remarks, read teleprompter, and the entire prompter copy was annotated in visceral language, telling us where to breathe, how to emphasize. Of course, we'd been rehearsing it for a couple of weeks, but he'd never done this in his life, man. And all you saw was Dwayne being Dwayne in what I call conscious awareness.
Mm.
So when I talk with you like this and tell you what a joy it has been to speak with you, versus speaking with you like this and telling you what a joy it is to be speaking with you, and you ask, how do I help others do that? The first time I constricted my tongue and jaw. My face was dead. The second time I released my tongue and jaw and my eyes opened up.
Mm.
So this is our sovereignty. This is how we claim who we are and learn to embody this, not for your approval, but because this is me being me. This is me choosing to be this.
What's necessary is a real habit. You've gotten in a habitual
I didn't hear
rhythm
you
of the
actually.
day.
I didn't hear you actually. What did you say?
You've gotten in a habit of embodying who you are, as
Yes,
opposed to, what you might have been conditioned to, or what other people, or even your
exactly.
perception of what other people wanted you to be. How does one get in this habit to be able to live this every day and be able to not have to worry about external approval? Step into that.
There's a world famous concert hall in New York called Carnegie Hall. And there's an old joke from the early 50s by a Jewish Borscht Belt comedian named Henny Youngman. And the joke went like this. He stopped a passerby in New York and asked, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the passerby said, practice, practice, practice. So you can go to Carnegie Hall today and you can buy a t-shirt and on the front it says Carnegie Hall and on the back it says practice, practice, practice. That's how embedded that joke is. So to answer your question, it is mastery. Somebody taught you it somewhere along the way, every single thing you did in the beginning of your development. Taught you how to spell and write and type and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, something else kicked in at some point in your evolution. Every great athlete I teach in the first lesson, I say, you bring the talent to your sport, but someone has taught you everything.
Hmm.
But who teaches us to be us?
Mm.
This work does. And so we must be loving and gentle and patient because things do go bump in the night. That's why the first ritual is to say thank you. It makes us safer. And then we delicately, gently practice. Someone takes one of my courses or reads one of my books or studies with me, these types of things. And little by little, and we set short-term goals, we set our vision statement. What is the contribution I want to make? Mine is to change the world through voice. And then we set goals and timelines. We all set goals, but mine always have timelines. If this is where I am today on April 2nd, where do I want to be in the end of Q4 on December 2nd? And if that's where I want to be then, what do I have to accomplish by November 2nd and October 2nd? So I create these timelines which give me deliverables. And my responsibility is not to me, it's to God and the work, the capital W work. So one of the key theses in vocal awareness, Kyle, is surrender, serve, and soar. Surrender means to yield or to give back. It is to be in service to our calling, to our vision. And when we achieve that, we soar, S-O-A-R. I disallow us being the corks in our own bottle. That's arrogant.
You
I
know,
have to stop in just a moment, but you wanted to say something.
I do. It's interesting to realize that when you're in a flow state, which is what you're talking about in terms of soaring, you get into that flow
Flow
state.
state in consciously. I'm not unconscious doing it. I'm really attuned to it, happening and observing it, experiencing it all at the same time. But please continue.
Is it consciously? I mean, of course, you realize
Absolutely.
you're zoned in, but to me, it's very connected with the unconscious when you're in that state
I
because
call it
it's
conscious
flowing with you
awareness.
of the flow.
I'm I'm tuned in intra and interpersonally. I'm in it and observing it at the same time. It's conscious channeling.
Mm.
I am really tuned in, just like that artist on stage who is only
Yes.
in their art. We don't develop our talent by how it sounds, but by how it feels. And while I'm in the first measure singing, I'm also
Mm.
planning the fifth measure, dot, dot, dot. Totally conscious. That athlete running doesn't think to juke. He's trained his body to think and he notices.
Yes. That's the
This is mastery. This is mastery.
unconscious competence that you're tapping
Yes, but I
into.
hate the word competence. Competence is entry level.
Unconscious mastery.
Exactly. But I call it conscious awareness. It's not unconscious. And it's not
I
just consciousness, and it's not just awareness. It's 360, interpersonally, and I mean that very seriously.
intrapersonally.
And interpersonally.
Mm. Let's leave it with this. How do you get somebody to be in that state on cue? What are the steps that they take to be able to enter that flow state?
What I've taught today, beginning with the 7 rituals,
Seven, yeah.
everything begins with stature, source, and we practice the techniques. These are techniques.
Mm.
Somebody taught Dwayne to dribble. That's a technique. He took it into the stratosphere.
Mm.
Nobody has done this in communication or in voice before me. So it's totally untapped. I'm where Freud or Jung were 120 years ago. This is new form. And I don't know anything about what you do, but I would love to build stuff with you, man. I have no idea if it's even applicable, but you could teach me a lot.
Feel like we can teach each other a lot, but I feel like that's also not very humble of me, considering how much more and more experience you've got and more you can teach me, I
Doesn't
believe.
matter about being humble. You're a master of AI.
And I think I've got to give myself permission to step into that role more instead of caring about what other people
Take the
think.
second word out.
And,
You don't have to, I don't think I have to. I have to.
mm, mm.
You don't need permission.
And that comes from developing mastery over the seven rituals.
Yes.
Let's leave it with that. Arthur, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I'd love to work with you. I've got some ideas in terms of how to use AI voice recognition to coach people autonomously. And so
I'm
we'll
all over this. I'm like white on rice. You just send me an email or set up a Zoom chat and we'll figure it out.
beautiful. Okay, Arthur,
Thank you
I
for today.
appreciate it, man.
Thank you for your original email and your inquiry, and thank you for your thoughtfulness today, Kyle.
Thank you as well. Thank you for the originality and the sincerity in your voice. It's very prevalent. So I appreciate it. Not very often you get to talk with somebody like you. So thank you. And we'll keep in touch.
God bless. Happy day.
You as well. Bye.